G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching the Wildkard Rugby Show. You are here today because it's time to read some rugby news and get angry at World Rugby for changing the laws again. Wait, that's another video. Sorry, we're just gonna be reading rugby news and stay calm and civilized manner for this video, okay? So, first up, they have introduced a trial for the 20-minute red card, which is something that I'm actually quite happy about, believe it or not. I always a strong support for the 20-minute red card. First of all, let me explain to you what the 20-minute red card actually is. There's a lot of misunderstanding of how it actually works. I see people posting in comments that it's just completely incorrect of how the 20-minute red card is to function. So let me explain this to you properly, and hopefully you will understand where I'm going at. So first up, 20-minute red card occurs. You are sent off the field for 20 minutes. The player that's been sent off cannot come back onto the field. They have to be replaced with another player, so they are still off the field for the entire remainder of the match. Somebody else has to come on in their place after 20 minutes. That's number one. Number two, in Australia at least, it's not mentioned in this article, which I assume will be also, the way it operates. In Australia, the way in Super Rugby right now, 20-minute red card is in play, but if you do something egregious like punching somebody, you are still sent off for the full duration of the match. So it's not like, oh, somebody just come on and deliberately punch somebody in the face, and and it's just a 20-minute punishment for the team. That is still something egregiously wrong about, the fair play of the game, the sportsman, extremely unsportsmanlike conducts. You are still off for the remainder of the match. Yes, and also, I've made a video about this before. I think 20-minute red card just makes more sense in the game of rugby today. In fact, I think 20-minute red cards should probably be adopted by other games that also have red cards. For one really important reason, in my opinion, is that the same punishment needs to be given out for the same infringement. That is how we live in this world. At least we like to pretend, right? If you commit a crime, your sentencing should be the same if somebody else commits the same crime. And now in rugby, the way that full duration red card suspension, that is just not true. Because if you commit a crime, if you commit a red card infringement in the first half of the match, you are off for the remainder of the match, which means somebody could do the exact same infringement in the second half. They're only off for a much shorter duration. So it's same crime being punished by different duration, which I think fundamentally kind of breaks the spirit of a fair competition. Just that fact alone, I thought the red card should have been reduced to 20 minutes. Especially nowadays in rugby, the law are being interpreted more and more strictly. We see red cards more and more often, and just the fact that you could get 2 yellow cards because of team warnings and offsides, right? Someone shouldn't be sent off. Someone else could be to commit the same issue in the second half. That will be completely different duration. Have completely adverse effect on the game. Should just not be the case, right? It should not be. My team get 2 yellow cards. One person get 2 yellow cards in the first half, and another team, the opposition, get 2 yellow cards in the second half on the same person. Just completely different dynamic in the terms of punishment. That should just not be the same. And then that's basically the idea of a 20-minute red card, right? You want everybody to be the same punishment, and also that when something does happen, like really egregious, like, punching somebody, you are still allowed to give out the full duration red cards. Something that's unforgivable, you can still do that as well. The World Rugby has also went ahead to clarify the post red card suspension to streamline a little bit and just make it more easier for the fans to follow up, to understand why some people get 4 weeks, why some people get 6 weeks, why is Owen Farrell not getting suspended at all, right? That sort of thing. They have just completely streamlined everything a little bit so that so there's a new framework to work with, and just make it and they've just categorized some of these red cards infringements to different levels of suspension. So the first level of suspension is a 2-week suspension for a legal tackle, but it's poorly executed. So like if I wanted the tackle and something happened, a head-on-head collision, red card, just 2 weeks suspension. Second level is a 4-week suspension for a tackle that is illegal. That is illegal. So if you went in like pile drive somebody, 4-week suspension. There's no mitigation will be offered for that. So the first one, if there's mitigation, like no mitigation, that could be considered. But second one, completely illegal move, no mitigation will be considered at all. 4 weeks, right? So that is the 2 levels of suspension. And this will be conducted by a sanction committee that is just going to be streamline the process after every week. And then there's a 3rd level that requires an actual committee like in the old days. So something that is even more serious than this, like for instance, punching somebody in the game, there was a fight breaking out or something of that nature. If this is more serious, then they will have a committee together as they used to before. You get your lawyers in and you have a proper hearings on the judiciary decision for the crime for the infringement. So that is really good for me. I think it's again really good for the fans. That is one positive from the World Rugby that has come through. But you can let me know if you agree or not. But what the remainder of a lot of the changes, as I've already talked about in another video, are just really mind-bogglingly bad in my opinion. So starting the 1st of July 2024, there will be 3 law changes taking immediate effect. One is so-called the Anton Dupont law, where if you kick the ball down the field, the ball receiver can put the opposition on side by moving forward. So that law has been taken out. So now the only way to put your players on side is for the goal kicker, or for the kicker, initial kicker, or somebody behind them to run your players on side. They're like it used to be, like how it always has been. So they have changed that law back to the way it was, I guess. Or maybe that has always been the case. I'm just not sure. So that has been gone. That's gone to just stop people like wasting time in the kicking game. And second law that's been changed is the ban of the crocodile roll. This one, I think, there's people telling me that a lot of people get injured by crocodile rolls. This one, I actually don't know. We'll have to see how this is going to affect the game, because the only legal way to clean somebody out is just barge yourself head into the breakdown. And I don't know if that's actually a safer way to clean people out. The breakdown is a bit of a dangerous area to begin with. So I don't know. The removal of the crocodile roll is actually going to make that safer. We'll have to wait and see. And also, by removing the crocodile roll, doesn't mean that the defensive team is going to be more, that's going to have a bigger advantage. Like, we're already watching teams unwilling to run the ball. And, when it comes to the more interested defending than attacking, is that just going to make the defense even easier, because they can just turn the ball back and get that penalty they want without the crocodile roll. So I have to see if that's going to have an effect, but that's actually fine with me. If they think it's dangerous, that's actually not too much of an issue for me. And also, there's a lot of misconceptions of the crocodile roll. People have been telling me that the Shannon Frizzell on Bungi Bunabi was a crocodile roll. That's not a crocodile roll. Shannon Frizzell landed himself onto Bungi. Quote said, according, even the referee Wayne Barnes said it was an attack on the leg, deliberately landing himself onto the leg. So that's not a crocodile roll, even though he rolled his body in the process, but it's not a crocodile roll technique at all. So yeah, there's something to look out for, how that's going to affect the game. And then the big one, the one that I have biggest issue with, is the change in free kick. So now free kick, you're not able to take a scrum option. Normally you think that this is not an issue, but when it comes to scrum, there's a lot of different ways. I think that there's a lot of different ways to get a free kick from a scrum. And then if you get a short arm from a scrum, you're not allowed to repack the scrum, which is a big disadvantage to teams that has a strong scrum. And I think the people that came up with this law probably didn't think it through properly, which is my biggest grievance against this change, is that the teams can abuse this to essentially avoid conceding a scrum penalty or a penalty try. So for example, right, there's a break foot. You have to put the break foot up, the hooker. A lot of you guys probably don't even know there's break foot. It's a thing that's introduced probably just 12 months ago. If you take the break foot back, oops, sorry referee, I forgot. No more scrummaging. And I think that this probably wouldn't affect like 80% of the game, especially in the lower level club games. It's not going to affect anybody. But in the highest level, in the test match, in the top maybe 10, 20%, this is going to be a big issue. Because teams, for example, if you get a yellow card, only 7 forwards on the field. What do? Oops. Sorry, referee. We pushed a little bit early. Short on penalty. No need to consider the penalty try. Oops. I forgot to put my breakthrough forward. There you go. No more scrum for you. And the thing about the scrum is not just the scrum that delivers the penalty try. It's the fact that when you have a scrum, you're tying up 8 other players, and it actually gives space for your backs to make those, try-scoring, beautiful line breaks that we all wanted to see. If you have 15 people scattered equally across the field, you're not going to see many line breaks. Let's just face that the fact there, right? So that's one thing that I think is really stupid. Second thing is, because this law change, if you have a penalty inside the opposition 22, you want to go for the try, we're gonna instead of, you can't do the scrums anymore, but you still want to tie up the opposition players, right? So you can have the space to work with. So the only option is to go for the line out. And we're gonna see more line outs, more mauls, and it's actually reducing the diversity of rugby we're gonna be seeing. We're just gonna be seeing every team just gonna go for the line outs because there's no other option. So they're reducing the number of options that is available for the teams as well. And also, I've talked about this as well. More and more, it's going forward. If this is, if you can just accidentally give out a short on penalty to alleviate threat from the opposition scrum, then we're gonna see fewer and fewer players participating in the props, and then slowly, but the game is gonna become more and more exclusive to player of smaller and faster size and the big men that we love to see. We really want to be in the rugby. To have that diversity, it's going to be fewer and fewer that's going to be available. So again, the diversity of the game is going to get hurt from this. And I think most importantly, especially in that very top, a team can just go, oops, we're down to 14 players for yellow card. Oops, sorry ref. That's going to be a short arm, right? So yeah, it's just not good overall. I was very surprised to see this. I think they didn't quite see this one through. Now, how they should have fixed the scrum, which is something that they actually proposed, is a 30-second shot clock for the scrum and lineouts. I actually think that for scrums, 30 seconds is too long. They can seriously shorten that down to 15 seconds, maybe even 10 seconds. And I would rather they go for that and potentially pausing the clock, make a law that you pause the clock in the last 10 minutes of the game. I'd rather go for that than just straight up not allowing a team to repack a scrum from a short arm penalty. So really poor thought out by World Rugby. Another one, and this is somehow, they call that innovation. I actually just a little bit mind blown by this. So scrum half is not contestable at the base of ruck. This is not something that's been introduced, by the way. This is something that's going to be on trial. So this is not definitely introduced yet. The scrum half not contestable at the base of the ruck. Again, rugby is about contest, like not making them. I don't think there's ever been an issue where scrum half is being contested that's causing the issue to the game. I don't know why they came up with this, why they thought the scrum half needs to be protected more, because it's already like not an issue. So I don't know why they have actually made it made a further protection, giving further protection to the scrum half, allowing less contest in the game. So that this just, I don't understand this. So this doesn't make any sense to me. Next one is they set to increase attacking option by allowing a mark inside the 22-meter line from a restart. So you can call a mark from a kickoff. That is stupid. That is just straight up stupid. And instead of increasing attacking options, they're actually reducing attacking options. Because you know what's going to happen? Everybody's going to be stacked between the 22 and the 40-meter line, the 10-meter line. And that's going to be the only play from the kickoff. And you're going to have like 3 people standing in the 22 to take the mark. You're actually reducing the attacking options from the kickoff. I don't know why who came up with this. Like, it's just utter stupidity. Again, you're limiting the options that is available in the field, just like they're doing with the 20-minute, just like they're doing with the scrum resets as well, just like they're doing with the scrum half, the halfback not being able to be contestable around the rocks. You're reducing contest, and you're reducing options. So I don't know why they think this is making the game good. It's just stupid and terrible. And finally, this one is it's again just stupid. If the line out is thrown and the opposition don't contest and it's not straight, they say you can just play on. Again, these players get paid millions of dollars to be a professional rugby hooker. You think that they should put in the effort to make sure that the fundamentals of their trade will be done properly. And if they can't do it properly, get somebody else. Get somebody who's willing to put in the work, put in the hard work to do the job. Catering these laws to absolute trash players you can do. I mean, if this is used for high school or something, I don't care. For professional test rugby, this should just be like, it's just stupid. Utter stupidity. It's a professional game. Utter stupidity. And quite frankly, the people that worked hard on their trade to make sure that their talents are applied, those people are going to be overlooked because it no longer matters. And it's in a competitive environment, that's actually going to hurt the overall development of hookers because you're going to have more and more people coming through with terrible skill sets, and they're not going to be putting the effort to make it better because you've opened up this option for them to not matter anymore, right? It's just stupid. Just stupid. Awful decision. But hey, it is what it is. And then they talk about, this is all about attracting younger audiences. I mean, last time I checked, I think most young people likes to watch, 30-second Instagram videos than sitting here and watch, rugby team running 20 faces with no break. Hey, we'll see how that goes, right? They think, non-stop rugby is what everybody wants to see for 80 minutes. I mean, God, I love rugby. I can't see through 80 minutes non-stop. I need to take a water break every now and then myself sitting on the couch. So yeah, we'll see how this is going to affect the game going forward. But yeah, and going forward also as well, there's a big news coming out of New Zealand. Sam Cane has announced his retirement from international test rugby after 2024. So this is the last year we'll be playing test rugby. And I think it is just emotional pressure and emotional pain he suffered for the last 4 years as the All Blacks captain. And he all kind of like just boiled over at the Rugby World Cup final where he got a red card. Yeah, if that was a 20-minute red card, I feel like he's probably not going to be under nearly as much pressure. But like that is just so, and it's just complete accident. Complete accident. Jesse Krill, 1 second decision, shoulder to the head on Jesse Krill, and his entire life is now basically rugby life is basically done, right? Like it's just so brutal. The All Blacks are already under so much pressure for the last 4 years. The All Blacks hasn't been great in their results, so he's just being hammered every week. You have no idea. Like, if you haven't been following this, every week it's just like Sam Cane should be dropped. They should replace him. He should be dropped. The All Blacks captain should be on the bench. And it's just brutal for him, his family, and and that red card in the Rugby World Cup final was just really heartbreaking for him. And I don't blame him making this decision. He's only 32 years of age. He could easily carry it on a few more years. And this obviously, there was some, there's people coming out suggesting that this is being told by other people upstairs that he should take this option to open up the captaincy for somebody else because of public pressure. And obviously with this announcement, it is really important to say there's a lot of speculation on who's going to be the next All Blacks captain. There's people thinking that Adi Savia or Scotty Barrett, someone that I've been calling for Scotty Barrett to be the All Blacks captain since 2019. Okay, so finally, my dream is going to come true that Scotty Barrett's going to take over the All Blacks as the rightful captain. But I think Scotty Barrett is the better option. Jokes aside, because I think this, just the emotional burden that it is to go through. Scotty Barrett doesn't care about this. I mean, doesn't seem to care, at least, about a lot of this emotional stuff. He's tough, not just physically, but mentally as well. And I think that for an All Blacks captain, you'd really need that, because this really is the next level of pressure when you are expected to win every game you ever play in the black jersey, that is such a burden. I think somebody like Scotty Barrett would be great for the role. And Adi Savea, I mean, he will be an inspirational captain, but I just don't think that, like I said, he will be a great captain for any other team in the world. If him and Scotty Barrett is playing for, Wallabies, let's say hypothetically, I will put Adi Savea as captain. But because they play for the All Blacks, I just think, like I said, the emotional pressure, I think especially Adi Savea is such an emotional person. I just don't think that's gonna just like heavily weigh on him. And I just think that that's actually gonna affect his overall performance as a player. So I really think that Scotty Barrett is a better selection there. And so the Champions Cup and the Challengers Cup referees has been announced. That's gonna happen not this weekend, but next weekend. Matthew Reynolds has got the Gloucester versus the Sharks game, which is the Champions Cup game. I thought he retired. Why is he still here? Matthew Reynolds. Anyway, and then in the final is the English referee, Matthew Carley. Gotta be more looking after that. It's just between Leinster and Toulouse. So yeah, that'll be some good match again in a couple of weeks' time. For the Champions Cup final, there's a big boost for Leinster. James Ryan returns, and Hugo Keenan will be returning for Leinster, and Will Connor as well will be joining in the group be available for selection for that as well. So yeah, let's move on to Super Rugby. Crazy week again of Super Rugby that has passed. Blues for the Hurricanes. This was probably like the best game of the season. Two just huge forwards, dominance teams going toe to toe. And just, this was great. And a massive turnout at Eden Park as well. And ironically, both teams were just incredibly dominant in their scrummaging that got them to this spot. And, I don't know, that, the changes in scrum laws, it's actually going to hurt New Zealand rugby a bit. The New Zealand front rowers are so stacked, unlike the Wallabies. We are very thin on front rowers. So, yeah, a really great game. And another one that was really heavily talked about is the Crusader loss to the Highlanders. It might look like a close score, but Highlanders was in control of the game all the way through. Crusaders basically scored the last minute try to make that scoreline look a bit more, looked a little bit more reputable, representable, look a bit more, look a bit nicer. But it was actually like complete one-sided for the Highlanders. Now you might be thinking the overall table, Crusaders 11th, they can still make it in the playoffs, the top 8. So Fijian and Drua has a really tough time coming up if they want to remain in the top 8. So the only two teams that could potentially stop the Crusaders on making the top 8 is the Duras and the Western Force. And believe it or not, the Crusaders actually can still make into the top 8 to play in the playoffs. So yeah, that's just how low the bar is for Super Rugby, unfortunately. And if we look at quick look at what's coming up, the Crusaders has Brumbies this weekend, so that's going to be a tough one for them to win. And then they're going to have Blues at home, and finally Moana Pacifica at home. So Moana Pacifica, that should be a game they're going to win. But now it's just the Blues and the Brumbies. I think the Crusaders won't be the Brumbies, but here's something that I really, really, really hope do not happen. It's the Blues put on a bunch of reserves saying that we need to rest our players for the finals and allow the Crusader a free win. I guarantee you I think that's going to happen. But I really hope they don't, because I think that's just going to be a disgrace. If the Blues just going to put on their B team and just call it, managing game time for our top players, that's just going to be disgraceful. That's going to be disgraceful. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe the Brumbies going to lose this weekend. Who knows? But because Crusaders win 2 games, they're pretty much going to be in the finals, because the road to the finals for Fijian and Drua and Western Force is going to be really tough. The Force is going to win against the Waratahs, hopefully. And then against the Reds, it's going to be really tough for them to do that at Suncorp. Finally, against Brumbies, that's going to be a really tough one for them as well. So if the Force win 2 games, they will be ahead, but it's going to be looking really tough. And then the Fijian and Drua also has a tough run. Reds at home, not impossible, because Fijian and Drua has a really good run at home. And then the Endurance got the Highlanders away, so this is possible. But again, Honduras away games are not that great. If this is at home, I actually backed the Fiji Honduras to win this one. You just don't know. And finally, Jura versus Rebels at home. I think this will be potentially a fight for the finish line for both teams. So I think Honduras need to win one of these games, potentially two, to potentially stay in the hunt. But the Crusaders, man, I just really hope that the Blues don't just let the Crusaders a free win. But yeah, it's still possible for Crusaders to come through with a bit of help from Auckland, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. So yes, the big game this weekend, as we just alluded to, Brumbies has announced the team. I thought it was interesting that they've decided to stack Nick Frost at the blindside flanker position. Nick Frost has been really, really good in the scrum, in the lineouts, and he's been coming off the bench a little bit for the Brumbies, and Tom Hooper has moved down to the bench. So some interesting selection there, really targeting that lineout areas. And the Brumbies, the big weapon for them is the centers. Tamaiti Tua and Len Ikitau will be really where the difference will be made against the Crusaders side. So yeah, Crusaders, Rob Penny apologizing, yada, yada, yada. But the big changes to the Crusaders is number 10. Fergus Burke is back in the team, coming back from injuries. Rivers Rehana moves back, stays on the bench. And Dave Havili moves away from the 10 to number 12. And Amoa has injured himself, apparently. So he is out of the 13 jersey. And the big one, Scotty Barrett still out for the back spasm. And the big change up front is the Tamati Williams not playing, not getting dropped completely for Joe Moody in the loose head prop position there. Yeah, we'll have to see. I think the centers will be where the battle lies for both teams, and the kicking game out of that 10-12 channel will be really, really important to both teams' success. And David Havili, I just don't think it's going to be able to match that. And I think that Brumbies should win this one, but who knows, right? The Blues, Zang Sullivan walked off the field last week, and he's going to be undergo surgery to a tear meniscus, so he's going to be out for the rest of the season. A big injury for him. Let's move on to Europe. The Saracens is going to be losing two of their Vunipola brothers to over to France. They're going to both be heading over to Montpellier. So yeah, that's going to be a massive, massive boost to that club there. There has been some talks about some of the changes, some of the trading that's been going on behind the scenes. So Aidan Morgan is a guy that's playing for Hurricanes and currently really not able to secure himself a position here. But he is Irish qualified, so there could be an opportunity for him to go to Ireland, especially because there was Ulster had lost Billy Burns, so they potentially wanted to bring him in and maybe bring him up to the national level for the Irish team there. There was some interesting stuff that was said as well. So last week, Hunter Paisami re-signed with Rugby Australia, and it was said that he had a sacrifice of £53,000. I mean, that's pretty much, I think that pretty much implies that Hunter Paisami will be as part of the Wallabies team, because he's going to get the retainer from being the Wallabies to make up for the loss. I think that's basically saying that's going to get the retainer from the Wallabies team. Will Harrison from the Waratahs is looking at going to Japan. And yeah, it's lots of interesting stuff, interesting talks there. Another injury out of the Reds. It's the broken arm on Harry Wilson. He walked off the field on the weekend, so that's a massive loss for the Reds and the Wallabies. The Wallabies, November 12 will include the game against the Bristol Bear, which will be played a day before the Wallabies test match against England at Twickenham. This is kind of interesting because I did not know Wallabies have any props left to field 4 props at the spring tour. There's not 4 props, 4 sets of props, because you're going to have a starting and the reserve props for your Wallabies starting 15, and then you're going to have the Australia for 15, which is that's like, yeah, literally 8 props. I don't know where the Wallabies are going to find 8 props for this. Maybe I'm going to get a call up. Who knows how they're going to deal with this, because I can barely think of 4 props to fill out for the Wallabies right now, for the starting Wallabies team. I don't know how they're going to get 8 for this, but we'll have to wait and see. So, yeah, moving on. Next up, Ian Henderson is going to be going through a surgery on his toe. He's not going to be playing against South Africa this July. Ollie Chisholm also got injured for going to be missing out July test because of a surgery. Dan Biggar has addressed this future at Toulon. He wants to stay there. His contract is ending in 1 year. He wants to get another year out of the club, but the club is probably a bit hesitant at the moment. He's been injured quite a while. Henry Thomas returns to Wales, so he could potentially be available for selection for Warren Gatland. Again, Wales is another team that's struggling with front rowers a little bit, so that's kind of good news for Wales. And that is it. And finally, there was some talks that Van der Merwe, they're offering Van der Merwe a bit of a break this July, but Van der Merwe says that he wants to take the opportunity to keep working on his craft and preparing for the Lions tour. And that's interesting because he's going to be up against Joseph Swali'i, a debutant, international test match debutant, and at the Lions tour. So that's probably, yeah, he probably can take a break and still be okay for that, in my opinion. So yeah, that's the news for this week, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, let me know your thoughts about the law changes and the tournament red card. And thanks for watching. Thanks to the guys who support me financially. Really appreciate your hard-earned money. And have a good one. I'll see you guys later for more content. Cheers.